We got Bellator as well. I think the price, I didn't write it down here, but I think it's like minus 175 plus 145. Minus 175, Michael Chandler plus 145. Why don't you just bring up best fight picks really quickly there?
Best fight odds. I know you say that all the time because our good boy Daniel
shout outs to Daniel
You
Levy.
do that all the time, though. It's ingrained in your head.
It's smart marketing on his part to do
Good
that.
name,
do we
good
have any
marketing.
other lines on the on that card yet?
Yeah,
Ooh,
okay,
they
so-
do. They didn't have it when we first started this.
Yeah,
which was
okay. So
hours
basically,
ago.
you've got Benson Henderson at plus 150, Michael Chandler minus 170, Michael Page at minus 475 against Fernando Gonzalez, plus 325. Francis Carmo is plus 125 versus Linton Vassell, minus 165. And Adam Piccolotti, 8-0 undefeated, minus 170. This one actually could be good value. Brandon Gertz is the guy that beat Melvin Gillard, and it does actually look pretty good. Also beat Derek Campos right after that. And he's a plus 130 underdog. Piccolotti's a tough guy.
It's whether you think that Piccolotti is going to be
Piccolotti is good.
a top-level guy. He's a top-level prospect
So
in their
unproven,
organization.
Very unproven.
Exactly. So this is his big step up in competition. I like Chandler in the main event there. I just think that we see him constantly evolving, and I think Benson Henderson has kind of stopped evolving. He was really good when he had the title. He was a master of that game, winning those close rounds. He just knew how to stay busy enough in close rounds with other people to get these
rounds
wins.
according to the judges, but
Yeah.
I don't think he ever won those close rounds in the eyes of the fans, and I
No.
think that did hurt him because honestly, I thought Gilbert beat him. I thought Frankie beat him. I think both times they fought. I thought Josh Thompson 100% beat him. I don't know how the hell he got robbed on that one.
Yeah.
The guy, this is great value. I honestly think this is great value. You're getting plus 150 on Benson Henderson. Okay, minus 170 on Michael Chandler.
Yeah, I think
Michael
so.
Chandler is a picture-perfect matchup for him. And you look at Benson Henderson's last fight against Patricio Freite. Patricio Freite had success because he pressured him, he got in his face, he could stuff the takedowns, and he's the better striker. I basically just described Michael Chandler. Freite's a 45er that jumped up to 55, won the first round easy, was winning the second round, and broke his own leg. Come on.
Michael Chandler is a physical specimen with a really ridiculously high-level collegiate wrestling background and striking that improves every single fight.
No, I know, and it's like, okay, he's been splitting some time at different gyms. It's like, oh, really? Like, what different gyms? Well, at Alliance and the Black Zillions. It's like, oh, okay, so great. He's fighting with just the best guys imaginable. Okay, no, I'm pretty certain. Honestly, I look at this fight and I think great value because one guy's a name brand guy, which is why it's not crazy. Nobody wants to bet crazy amount against Benson Henderson, so they're going to keep it relatively even. This is relatively even. Don't write off Fernando Gonzalez. He might fail for being high as hell afterwards because that's happened to him a couple times.
They don't test for that in Bellator.
No, he failed for Bellator on the
What, for
Dynamite.
weed?
Yeah, he fought Paul Daly and he was high as hell. And he went, okay, let's take that into consideration. This guy went 15 minutes, or I guess it's 3-minute round, so he went 9 minutes against Paul Daly in a kickboxing match. It was his first ever kickboxing match, and Paul Daly's like 30th. He went the distance. He also upset Marius Zaramsis and knocked him out. He also upset Karo Parisian and knocked him out. You can't write this guy off.
Yeah,
People love Michael Page.
Near
That
minus
one's
500, that one kind of looks
That one's
risky.
tough. Carmel versus Linton Vassell. I'd be all over Linton Vassell watching their fights. I'm like, now, two things on this. Little birdie called me the other day and said, hey, dude, I just watched Francis Carmel kick the shit out of Nordine Taleb bad at TriStar. I was like, what? Really? They're like, oh, man. Tossing him around like a bag of potatoes. I was like, oh, dude, that's sick. I was like, wait a second, Nordine Taleb fights at 170 pounds.
Yeah.
like, oh, well, I suppose ragdolling him is probably what you should have been doing. So that's another one that's going to be close. And then finally, Brandon Gertz, Piccolotti. Piccoloti's a tough guy. He's beaten a couple friends of mine, actually, guys that I'm really into. But at the end of the day, I mean, Brandon Gertz is former collegiate wrestling champion, not champion, but a guy that wrestled at a high level D2, I believe. Might have been D1. And then coming out in those wins, over Campos and Melvin Gillard. I mean, he really shows his full arsenal. He's got great punching power. He's a savvy veteran. So why would you take this undefeated 8-0 kid over the proven commodity, a guy that's building himself up in the division? So the great thing about this whole card, and if you listen to both shows, and you definitely know that, there's not these really jumping out like, this has great value. I love this fight. There's a couple smidgets. There's a couple, I like this favorite, but he's too big. There's a couple, I like this dog, but there's not enough. This, to me, is parlay. And the great thing is that you can parlay some guys from the Brazil card with some guys from the Dublin card. You can put
Sneak
those
a little
guys
Michael Chandler in there.
with the Bellator card. So, honestly, parlays will be your friend. There's not
Plus
a whole lot of
there's Andre
straight
Ward
bets.
versus
Kovalev.
Kovalev? Who do
I'm
you
going
like?
with the Ward, baby. Olympic boxing. He's just too smooth. He's a
That one's basically a
He's a
pick 'em.
technician.
I wouldn't call myself an expert on this.
No,
matter,
he's
so
moving
I
up the
don't know.
weight class. I mean, this guy's a natural super middleweight. He's got to move up to light heavyweight. He's been fighting at light heavyweight for the last number of years. The problem is that after he beat Chad Dawson, nobody really wanted to fight him anymore because bad Chad Dawson was regarded as the top light heavyweight in the world. So him having to move up to that weight class, they've been dodging him. And I've been trying to watch Andre Ward in a competitive fight for the last 3 or 4 years. Maybe since that Super 8 tournament, where he essentially just cleaned out everybody and beat them all. There's never really been that guy to push him. You know, I mean, Carl Froch, yeah, not in his level. All these guys, Mikhail Kessler, none of those guys were ever in his level. They weren't. Arthur Abraham, not a super middleweight to begin with. Kovalev's that real shot because the guy is a light heavyweight, not a super middleweight. So you're going to move up and you're going to fight one of the baddest dudes. But this is a 12-round fight. I think Ward takes him into deeper waters. And I felt like this for a long time. Floyd Mayweather, Andre Ward.
Are the best 2 fighters in the
And
world.
those are really the only 2 guys. And now if you really want to think about it, there's
Golovkin.
Well, Golovkin's up there. Errol Spence is just the greatest guy, man. Like that guy's so unbelievably good. And then there's going to be those undefeated guys like Danny Garcia's 33-0. Keith Thurman's a good banger. Kovalev and Ward are obviously both in there. So there's some good boxers here and there. I love boxing, but this is my jam. So
It's an absolutely stacked weekend for mixed martial arts, for boxing, you got 2 UFC cards, a Bellator card.